Today on Rappler.
Kaya nga po, ngayong araw, binubuksan natin ang mata ng sambayanan ukol sa Jabida Massacre. Totoo pong nangyari ito at tungkulin nating lahat na kilalanin ito bilang bahagi ng ating pambansang naratibo.
President Aquino acknowledges government's atrocities in the Jabida Massacre 45 years ago. Team Pinoy and the United Nationalist Alliance draw small crowds in simultaneous rallies in Bagio City.
We do not wish to give anyone a difficult time. We dream for them as they aspire for their future. As administrators, we are not enemies.
And the University of the Philippines Manila says it is not to blame for the suicide of a student. Hello, I'm Milo, sitting in for Maria Resta. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. President Benigno Aquino acknowledges a government atrocity committed 45 years ago under Marcos rule, the Jabida Massacre. Angela Kasaway reports.
45 years ago, a presidential helicopter arrived in Corregidor Island to sweep the charred remains of Moro trainees under the Jabida Commando Unit of Operation Merdeka. The secret plot to seize Saba under then-President Ferdinand Marcos. Today, another presidential helicopter lands in this island, whose history is written in blood, to commemorate the gruesome killings known as the Jabida Massacre. Speaking at the very airstrip where the Moro trainees were shot dead, President Benigno Aquino is the first president to lead and mobilize government to remember the massacre.
Kaya nga po, ngayong araw, binubuksan natin ang mata ng sambayanan ukol sa Jabida Massacre. Totoo pong nangyari ito at tungkulin nating lahat na kilalanin ito bilang bahagi ng ating pambansang naratibo.
Aquino's move is a fitting gesture for the son of the man who exposed the Jabida Massacre in March 1968, then Senator Ninoy Aquino. Yet even as he makes history, Aquino notes how history repeats itself through the current standoff in Saba. As the president speaks, Malaysian authorities continue to hunt the followers of Sultan Jamalul Kiram III, who sailed to Saba a month ago. Just like Operation Merdeka, the president says the current Saba standoff once again sees ordinary Moros being used by individuals in power.
Hindi po ba't nakikita natin sa mga pangyayari nitong huling mga linggo? Tila umuulit yata ang masakit na kasaysayan. Trahedya po ang nangyayari ngayon sa lahad-dado. Gaya ng trahedya na nangyari sa Jabida. Ngunit marahil ang pinakamalaki pong trahedya ay tila yata hindi pa tayo natututo sa mga aral ng nakaraan.
Aquino hopes to correct these mistakes by acknowledging the massacre occurred. Until today, the only remembrance of Jabida are these walls. Regular tours in the island exclude mention of the tragic event. Today, a Garden of Peace stands at the site where the Moro trainees were shot and burned to death. Will all these finally heal the wounds of the past? Or will they reignite interest in a territory we sometimes forget is still ours? Angela Kasaway, Rappler, Corregidor.
272 Filipinos from Saba arrive in TawiTawi's Taganak Island on Sunday. Crisis Management Committee Coordinating Center Chair Sharifa Parcia Dan says the Philippine Navy is arranging for their pickup and transport to TawiTawi's capital, Bongao. Based on government data, 2,631 Filipinos were assisted from March 5 to March 13. Dan says the number of those fleeing Saba is definitely higher. She says many of the Filipinos left Saba because they were afraid of the possible crackdown as a result of the standoff between the Malaysian security forces and the followers of Sultan Jamalul Kiram III.
Dalawang natanong ko doon, bakit silang umuwi? Sabi niya kasi ma'am, parang mayroon din advance notice sa kanila na magkakaroon ng operations ang Saba Police by March 25. So, sabi niya ma'am, bago kami maabutan ng ganon, minabuti na nila umalis.
Today there is an estimated 800,000 Filipinos in Malaysia, most of them in Saba. The 38 suspected members of Kiram's Royal Security Force detained in TawiTawi may soon be released. The Philippine Navy arrested them Wednesday. On Friday, Sulu Sultanate spokesman Abraham Idirani confirmed 22 of the 38 belong to their royal security force. Kiram's followers are charged with illegal possession of firearms, inciting to war, and violation of election gun ban. All three are bailable offences. Chief Public Attorney Persida Acosta is in TawiTawi to provide legal assistance. She's asking the local court for a reduction of the bail to 3,000 pesos per detainee. Team Pinoy says its Bagio sortie isn't small, it just looks small. Campaign manager Franklin Drilon estimates the crowd at 3,000, but says it looks smaller because the Melvin Jones Field is spacious. Team Pinoy defends its crowd-drawing power as the opposition United Nationalist Alliance also holds an event in Bagio. This is the first time both coalitions are holding rallies in the same city simultaneously. Una criticizes Team Pinoy for being unable to gather big crowds, but Drilon says surveys matter more than crowd size. Team Pinoy has dominated surveys so far, despite smaller crowds in its sorties. Senatorial bet Alan Peter Cayetano has this to say about the small turnout.
Alam niyo po, may kasalanan ang ating Pangulo sa ating ngayong araw na to. Dahil sa ganda ng ekonomiya, 6.6 yung GDP growth, marami sa dapat nandito sa rally na to ay wala dito at nandun sila sa ukay-ukay, nasa palengke, nasa Good Shepherd at nagbibili ng raisin bread sa country club.
Una insists size does matter when it comes to sorties, a dig at its opponent's poorly attended events. But in Bagio, Una gets a taste of what it's like to be snubbed by the masses. Ai Makaraig files this video blog.
They said the heat is on, but is it really? The opposition sortie here in Baguio City fails to live up to its hype, drawing a crowd of just about 3,000 people. The United Nationalist Alliance fails to muster a huge crowd in its so-called showdown with Team Pinoy as the two hold simultaneous rallies here in Baguio. Una says it opted for a smaller venue, the Bagio Convention Center, because of weather concerns. But as you can see, it failed to fill up even this space. The thing is, it's Una that has been making an issue out of crowd sizes, taunting Team Pinoy in the run-up to this event.
Tignan nyo na lamang, no? Basta't kami, sa lahat ng napuntahan namin, nung nagsimula kami sa Cebu, libo-libo yung dumalo. Siguro, di bababa sa 50,000, sa Cagayan de Oro, sa Bukidnon, kung saan-saan. Hindi pa yata kami nakakatikim ng magpapay sa 1,000.
Sila ka, yung may po sila, Plaza Miranda, Lisbeth, di pa na po. Kami sa Cebu, dami.
Still, former President Joseph Estrada gets a warm welcome from the crowd who responds to his jokes and antics. Estrada questions his defeat here in 2010 despite his support for city projects when he was still president. ERAP connects with the voters along with Una's Ilocano senatorial candidates. The candidates point out problems like drugs and informal settlers, promising to address this when they win Senate seats. Another Una crowd drawer, Vice President Jejo Marbinay, skips the rally as he prepares to leave for the Vatican for the inaugural Mass of Pope Francis. Still, the lesson for Una is to manage expectations, not just of the public, but also its own. Ai Makaraig, Rappler, Bagio City.
President Aquino tells a graduating class of Philippine Military Academy that they start their career during times of conflict for Philippines' international relations. Natasha Gutierrez reports.
The act formally created the Philippine Military Academy.
After 4 years of intense training, the 2013 Philippine Military Academy class is ready to defend the country from land, air, and sea. The class Pudang Kalis boasts of 124 cadets, 105 male and 19 female. Pudang Kalis means sacred sword, soldiers with heart and honor unified in strength. The President attends with Vice President Jejomar Binay, Defense Secretary Voltaire Gazmin, and Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief Emmanuel Bautista. This graduating class of cadets enter the military at an interesting time. With ongoing tensions between the Philippines and its neighbors, President Aquino addresses the issue of Saba and the government's pursuit of peace. Even at a joyous affair, Aquino slams Sulu Sultan Jamalul Kiram. Kiram sent hundreds of followers to invade Saba, an operation which resulted in a deadly attack. Aquino criticizes Kiram for thinking only of himself, the root of all problems, he adds.
Naisip kaya ng mga pasimuno nito na napakaraming apektado sa paggawa ng gulo. Nariyan ang mga tinatayang 800,000 Pilipino na naninirahan at naghahanap buhay ng tahimik sa Saba. Paano kung bigla silang pauwiin ng ating kapitbahay na kay tagal na panahon ang binuno natin para magbalik ang tiwala?
Using the example of Saba, he urges the cadets to always opt for dialogue to solve conflict, citing the Bangsamoro framework. He also leaves them with this advice.
At bilang medyo nakakatanda sa inyo, marahil ito na ang may iwang kularan. Sa tuwing haharap kayo sa isang sangandaan, ilagay lamang ninyo ang sarili sa lugar ng mga pinaka-agrabyado, ng mga pinaka-api, ng mga pinaka-tukha, ng mga pinaka-naghahanap ng lingap. At tiyak, lilinaw kung ano ang tama at kung ano ang mali.
Aquino is not the only one with wise words for the cadets. 22-year-old Justoni Lanaha grew up in Davao del Sur. From working in a coconut farm and harvesting sugarcane, he is this year's valedictorian. He reminds his class to stay true to their values and echoes Aquino's push for peace.
As we go out into the world, let us keep the values of courage, integrity, and loyalty intact, and let it be a beacon that will guide us daily in our thoughts and deeds. And for the Filipino people, who will continue to be a source of inspiration, as we were cost-defeated in the tenets of peace, so shall we win the war through peace.
As the freshest class of soldiers enter the workforce, peace is the message most emphasized, a fitting theme at a time when it may be endangered. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Bagio City.
The University of the Philippines Manila said they did everything they could to help the freshman student who committed suicide Friday, reportedly over failure to pay tuition on time. In a press conference Monday, UP Manila Chancellor Manuel Aguto says the school only followed the rules when it denied the student's request for a loan. Aguto says the student's father was late in appealing for a loan for the second semester. Aguto also defends the university from allegations of being cold-hearted. He says UP Manila officials allowed the student 3 extensions to pay for her loans.
We do not wish to give anyone a difficult time. We dream for them as they aspire for their future. As administrators, we are not enemies. We do not wish to pose obstacles in realizing their dreams.
UP President Alfredo Pascual says they are studying revisions in the university's financial assistance program.